I will be completely honest. I have never heard of this character before. I've never seen him before. When this figure was revealed as a Target exclusive with the other three in this batch of Target exclusive wave, whatever you would want to call it, just so happened that there were four figures at the time, all exclusive to Target. He was one of them, and I've never heard of him ever until that post from Mcfarlane on their Facebook, and the only thing I could say that I know of him now is because of the battle card. When I opened them, read the battle card, I was like, oh, he's a character from Wildstorm, which I've never read any of those comics. So all I know is that Wildstorm, or the characters from the Wildstorm comics, were sold to DC. They were created by Image Comics and then eventually sold to DC. I don't really know the reason why they were sold to DC, but they're DC characters now. That's all that matters. And there's a comic book called The Authority, and I believe he's from that comic. Well, that's what I heard from some of the talks that people are discussing when it comes to theories of a certain person that has been seen in those photos that people have taken from the Superman film production thing. There's a guy wearing a what looks to be Black Noir, kind of. That's the meme. There's people theorizing that it could be these three characters. Some people are thinking it's Ultraman, right? The evil Superman from the Crime Syndicate. Other people are thinking it's Ulysses or Ulysses. I don't know his name. I've never heard that character either. And then the last theory they're saying is it could be him, because in one of the comic runs for the Authority, he's not wearing this particular suit. He's wearing a different suit, but in that picture, that suit kind of looks like it has a U logo, which I've seen the picture and I can kind of see why people are trying to play the guessing game right now with who that character is, or who, yeah. So there's a possibility it could be him. And his name is Midnighter. That's his name. He feels like a very Batman style character. I don't think he has superpowers. I think he's just a dude that wears a normal costume and fights crime. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting from this guy, just staring at him. So I don't think there's anything crazy about this character. Maybe there is that I'm not knowledgeable of or aware of. But nevertheless, I do like this figure in a lot of ways. I do like the whole, he got a coat on. He has like all this like gear on him, right? Now, one thing I don't know if it works or doesn't work, but in the subject of reusing figure molds, this figure reuses a figure mold that has been reused, I think, quite a few times now. It was introduced with I believe it was the Dark Detective Batman. It was from not Dark Detective, Future State Batman. I think it's Dark Detective. I could be wrong, but you know which one I'm talking about if you have that figure. He has the same kind of body mold, same everything pretty much, and everything's the same on this figure too. It's just that they just added the logo into his chest instead of Bat logo. They add the moon logo like it's Midnight. His head is pretty similar to that. It just doesn't have the ears, but it's almost the same thing. The arms are almost similar. So it's basically the same mold, but just retooled for this guy. And does it work? I guess you could say it kind of works, because in the artwork that they use for the source material, it does look like he's wearing this type of stuff. So this is the one time where I yeah, I can let it pass, right? Um, but is this body mold good? Well, aesthetically, it's okay, right? Sculpt wise, it's okay, but it's not the best when it comes to articulation. That's all I will say. I find the articulation for this body to be a little bit of annoying, especially when it comes to the legs. And on top of that, he has something that's meant for characters that usually do have a vehicle that they can ride on. That hasn't been made yet, so the choice of why he has this articulation cut is still kind of weird because the original figure mold that this is using, that figure hasn't gotten their bike yet. But it doesn't mean you can't put them on other bikes. It's just usually when you see figures with the die cut, especially for Mcfarlane figures, because he doesn't do die cuts often, you would always think that they are going to get a motorcycle. He hasn't gotten one, right? And I'm not surprised because it's just like the Batman Beyond figure, right? Not getting his Batmobile, even though it's been mentioned that the Batmobile is coming. It's been quite some years since that leak or listing has been seen, and it hasn't gone anywhere. So there's that whole thing. Now, in terms of accessories, this guy comes with. I don't know what to call these, honestly. But these are the things he used to fight criminals with. So you can most likely assume that he beats them to a pulp with these. He has two of them, so he comes with two of these, and his hands can grip them really nicely. And of course, no character like this cannot, not include fist hands. He does have two sets of fist hands that you can use if you don't want him holding his weapons. So very nice inclusion of those hands, because for a character like this, you gotta have fist hands, right? You can't be doing like a photography shot where he's just like punching somebody with a gripping hand. That looks weird. And the conversation of like what type of hands certain characters should come with, that could be a whole topic in another video. Because sometimes Mcfarlane includes alternate hands that are like for a figure that doesn't benefit from it, or in some cases he gives them hands that they shouldn't have, right? So that's what I think. Okay, let me put these. So these weapons can go into his hand relatively easily. I think they do fit. Now they are soft plastic. They're as you can see, they are slightly. I don't want to say the word gummy, but they're not stiff. They do that. So will they warp? Hard to say. I don't really know if they will warp. I've never had them displayed on my shelf with them, so I don't think they will warp. Maybe they will, but so there you go. You got them with the weapons, and then you can do some cool action poses like he's just like getting ready to start a fight, right? that's what you could do with this guy. Let me zoom in on that. There we go. So yeah, you can do something like that. Now I will say this, on my copy, the pegs are very loose for his hands. So if you notice how every time I move them, they're very loose. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I haven't did the glue trick yet, so I haven't had time to do anything to this figure. I got this figure a while back, and then I just left him there. He's just been sitting somewhere, and now through cleanup, I'm like, oh yeah, right, I have this guy. And this is basically the problem with me. It's when you start to become too deep into the collecting for a line, you just start buying every single figure. Look, so far I don't have every single figure, but if I were to have every single figure, this would be a nightmare. But I don't have every single DC Multiverse figure. But I also do have a lot of the characters that I thought are niche, right? I thought this character was niche. I mean, I don't know anything about him, so clearly is. But at the same time, is he niche? I don't know. I really don't know. So, if you do know who he is, that can enlighten me on who this guy is in the story. But so for my copy, he has a lot of looseness in some areas, and it's not completely a good thing. Or in this case, this is really bad. So yeah, as you can see, that's not fun, and that could be fixed. His other hand, yeah, it's a little bit loose too. It does need the thing to be fixed. And oh, I guess you could say it is slightly warped. Right. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so those are his. I don't think they're called batons. I don't want to call them that. So that's his accessory holding hands. Now I'm gonna pop in those fist hands now. So let me just take those off and I'll show these on camera. So he got the fist hands that he can have for, punching people. And again, same problem, very loose because of the peg. But at least there's no weight from the his accessories. Yeah, this side is a little bit better, but still not so good. But yeah, you can have them with the fist hands. I think he honestly looks better with the fist hands. They do look kind of small, but so if you don't want him to be using weapons, you can get him into like an action pose where he's trying to get ready to have a beatdown with a criminal that he's fighting, right? So there's that. Now, I didn't even show the aesthetics, but you will see this figure mold appear a few times in my videos because I do have the other figure that I was talking about. So that'll be a whole separate video. But yeah, it's pretty much the same mold. It's just been repainted in this darker color. So the coat on that original one was brown. This one's black. And then the face is not too different from that original one. It almost feels the same, just without the mouth being open. I don't know if this is like a complete new head sculpt, but I mean, it kind of looks like a new head sculpt. But it kind of reminds me a little bit of that original figure as well, even if these two characters are different. But they are sharing almost very similar parts for a figure. So there's that. Now, articulation. The head can do pretty much the usual things, certain things that certain figures can't do sometimes. But this one, the head is free with motion. And then his arms. This piece will hinder his arms from lifting up like this. If you want to rotate it all the way, you can. And as you can see, it's very loose on my copy, but you can clearly do the double joint on that arm. So, pretty good. Same thing with this side. Same, deal. So, and as you can see with the hands, as I show them, they can rotate. And they also have a joint, but I think it's like really tight on mine. So, but you're not really going to really utilize that joint all too often. And then his torso. So for this one, it's tighter. But on that other one, it's like looser. But it's not one entire torso. It's two pieces. So you have this top part, right? And then there's the waist area. Mine is kind of tight. But technically, it's supposed to be able to move under there. But I kind of like the tightness because on my other copy of this same mold, he's more looser. And I think it might be a quality control issue of some kind. So But can he ab crunch forward? Kinda. Can he arc back a little bit? It's not the best body. That's what I'm gonna say. And then as for his legs, they can spread out okay. Not like anything crazy. And then can he kick out? He can only kick out that much. Because these things on his belt, they kind of get in the way, right? And then the die cut that I was talking about. So because he's reusing the mold, this guy has a die cut. So if you want to put this guy on a motorbike, you can. So there's that. And then he has double jointed legs. I haven't even articulated this guy that much, so I don't even... Oh. Yeah, that's not bad. That's okay. So there's a range of motion there with the legs. And then his feet, you're not going to really have much going on with his feet because it's almost like one big piece. And then you have the toe articulation. So articulation, very standard, very simple, and not too complicated to do. But again, it is one of those figures where it is reusing a mold, so if you already had this mold before, you know what you're getting into. Is he a character you would ever pick up? Well, that really depends on your preference of what you want. For me, I picked him up because I'm kind of glad I did, because with the news that the authorities are getting their own movie in the future, these characters are going to become relevant in the new DCU. So that's going to be interesting to see and how they're portrayed in live action. And that has me somewhat excited because they're not the usual group of characters you would ever expect to see in live action, right? And this makes me a little bit happier because going forward, they're not going to jump the gun right into like the main Justice League members. They're going to, yes, they start with Superman, and eventually there'll be a Batman movie again, another Batman movie, and then of course another Superman movie, being the start of it all. However, they are also giving focus to characters that people have never heard of, and especially this guy. I've never heard of him, so if I really do want to know who he is, maybe those movies will do a kind of a good job talking about him. Or maybe they won't. I'm not going to, gamble on that. But honestly, I like having characters I don't know of. I still think he's a pretty cool looking figure. And just having him is fun on the shelf. Even if the context for this guy is just like, I'm like, I have zero knowledge of him. I should have done a context section for this video, but I really wanted to emphasize that sometimes all I know is just all I know. And I don't want this video to be too long. It's already kind of long enough. So with that, this is Midnighter from the Wildstorm crew of people, and also a member of the Authority, I believe, as well as a character that is now a DC character. So, very cool character. He's very Batman-esque. He kind of does remind me of Batman. But, yeah. That is the look today at a figure that came out fairly recently. So, he's not that old. I think he was on clearance, too. That goes to show that he wasn't really selling, because I remember in the clearance rack, I saw a bunch of him, and I should have waited. But maybe in the future, he will be a very sought-after character if they write him good in the movies. Who knows? Very hard to say, but if you do know who this character is, and you want to tell me who he is, you can comment below. You don't have to. But if you like this review on Midnighter, give it a sub, give it a like, and I will see you next time.